Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back to Dirt 3. So we're finally going to do multiplayer. Our last recording we did, let's see, have fun and make your, let's see, Pro Tour, race hard and earn fame in ranked matches, make up your own rules. So, I'm going to go solo. And I'm not going to do hardcore. Circuit racing, point to point, and Gymkhana. Point to point, rally, trailblazing, and head to head. So if I do competitive, I can do everything except for party modes. Look at that tire on the right. It is just freaking out. It's totally freaking out. And see chat. People may hear me as I'm talking here, but this will be interesting. Let's do competitive and create a game and voice in chat everyone. Let's see. Mute all. There we go. And we're waiting for players now. So, last recording we looked at every single car. We heard all of that and we saw all of that, and it didn't really work that well for us. Honestly, a lot of things, a lot of the cars were just labeled as formidable, which I think they just had like nothing really good to say about them. It seems like in the rally car races and everything, there's a very limited number of cars that you're allowed to use, or it's possible that this game just didn't have enough licenses to have as many cars as you might happen. There may very well be open rallies that allow you to have any kind of car you want to bring and drive up there, and they just obviously couldn't accommodate that, since they'd have to license every single car in the world that ever existed. But sometimes they'd say something interesting and then I'd want more information. They'd talk about a racer. Ken Block came up a lot. Colin McRae came up a lot, and it really would have worked better as a Wikipedia website than just in the game showing me a little bit of dialogue. Actually showing me the cars is awful in their system, and it just doesn't work at all. And here's the problem. Dirt 3 is not available for sale on Steam. The servers are probably going to get shut down eventually, but they seem to be on right now, and yet there's nobody here. And I'm at level 1 and I'm just sitting here and it's not working. So we're going to leave this session and let's see if maybe we can just do a jam session quick match. There are no sessions for you to join. Create one. One round, whatever. Done. We'll just leave it by default there. And then voice and chat, mute everybody. And we're just waiting for players. And if we get even one player on here, that would be great. There's clearly some settings here. If the multiplayer was working, it seems like you could probably make almost anything you wanted. Maybe there's not an opportunity here to make a tournament where you select each track directly. So say you were really good at Finland and you wanted to do Finland, and Finland on the exact same track 4 times just to assure that you win if you're just trying to grind and cheat there. I'm not sure you could particularly do that, but it seems like you can get pretty close and everybody gets a vote and everybody can veto other things. Here we can look at my dirt, and the racing style is the same and the stats are the same. And we're still sitting here waiting for people. And I've got no friends to invite, and even if I did invite friends, it would take too long. So, we're not going to have... Obviously, we're not going to have a multiplayer run at all. And I can't really ever recommend the game for multiplayer. Ever. It's just not... What is invasion, I wonder? Outbreak, transporter, joyride. Well, apparently you can do a joyride. That's an interesting thing. Round 1. DC. DC compound, all areas, morning sun, collision. Collision's on. Interesting. So it seems like a joyride would take you just everywhere. And then advanced options, driver assist enable, forced manual gears, forced head cam, allow vehicle setup, session visibility. So you can store your settings even. But it's not going to happen. Yeah. However, if you want to play split screen, that's here. If you want to play on your local network, that's cool. I assume if you create a game on your local network, you can do everything you otherwise would be able to do. 5 rounds, Rallycross, joyride. Several things here are different, and I think if you do open track selection here, you can just choose between any of the tracks. And this is the first time it's actually shown you like what the different racetracks look like. So this has been my problem with the races in total, is that when you start to look at those lines, they start and end at the same place. They just change where you go a little bit, not even that much on Monte Carlo. Let's say Norway. Norway is a loop that's cut into different pieces. Finland is a loop that's mostly cut into lines. Kenya is a loop that is broken up into different sections. And see, that's the truth of it, is each of these areas is just one big track. That's all it is. And Monte Carlo, Norway, Finland, and see, that's only in the rally racetracks even. So when you go to some different racetracks, that's not going to work. So I think if we do a joyride run, we will actually see all the tracks. And this is what it should have been for the final thing. Let's see, so time trial, single race. Can we go to a joyride in a single race? No. Can we do a time trial under a joyride? No. Freestyle, Gymkhana, Rallycross, Rally. So I don't even know what you would really want to do. Landrush. So I want to do single player joyride. And it won't let me do it. So what would I have to do is split screen and then
narrator dialog, no button, Alt+N. Do you want to turn on narrator? Narrator reads text aloud on the screen.
What in the world?
To start desktop, narrator dialog, no, checked. Exiting narrator.
What in the world was that? Like, I'm sitting here doing nothing. I hit enter and it doesn't do it. Local network, create game. Maybe if I do this. Individual, joyride. See, I don't even know what transporter is. Or outbreak or invasion. Like, we've got several things here that I'd like to do first. So, invasion, time limit, done, and mute everybody. And yet I can't close, 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 close. So you can't do that. This is ridiculous. So there's several things here that I'm never even going to get to try. Because I can't do invasion. I won't be able to do outbreak. I won't be able to do... I won't be able to do transporter. Let's see. And I assume transporter is something like that. And advanced options and track selections is all of them. And I can't just close all of the slots and hit start. That's a shame. That's a really stupid shame that that's not an option. Because this is going to have us in one round do the DC compound, then all the areas in morning sun, and just let us see everything in the game really easily, and yet you can't do it because nobody's online. And last time we tried this, we looked and we were able to find something, but like no sessions found at all. Nobody's online right now. And this is so dumb. So, like I have said before, don't ever buy games for multiplayer. And if you're going to buy games for multiplayer, let's get them as soon as possible, because that's the only chance you even have to have a decent competitive scene to begin with. There's games, for instance, there's a game called For Honor right now that just came out, and it's already losing its competitive scene, and I wouldn't be surprised if nobody's playing it in less than 3 months. It's got some other problems with it too, but multiplayer is just not a good thing to go for, and it sucks really, really bad that this game is hiding styles of races behind multiplayer. There's been a lot of problems. You can see the tire is freaking out over there on the right again. The menus are such a huge mess, going inward and outward on all this, hiding the manual transmission way behind this. And then if you have an advanced wheel settings, it doesn't even matter, because you don't have a ability to go to manual non-sequential. So you would have to have a special driving wheel that sent the shift up signal more than once if you shifted from like first gear to third gear, or send the downshift button twice if you went from third gear to first gear. You have a HUD that can't be repositioned. It's a major problem. Even though you can turn off all of these elements, you can't put them in the actual edges. You have audio, which can't go below 50% for everything except for the music. You have racing styles that just mean who your co-driver is, and an entire secondary person is going to, you're never going to hear them. Ross Hunter or Jen Horsey. You have all of these horns that, just like a waste. Apparently a bunch of them are locked too, so I don't know what you actually do to unlock more horns. Is that something you unlock in playing multiplayer? Because I've played most of everything else. Let's see, edit profile. I could change my name. I can change my surname. I can change my gender, which, as far as I saw, there was never anything for females in this game. So I played as a female gender, and I never heard a "you go girl." I never heard anything like that. So does that just mean if I had played as a guy, there might have been great work, or you're a great guy, or something like that, and they just took all of those out for the female? That's not very balanced. Nationality American, I'm not sure what that really does other than change your flag. The audio name, they give you all of these audio names for let's see, I guess you could have gone boys. Ooh, there's actually people's names in here. I didn't even realize this. I thought it was just nicknames. So a huge waste of people's time in the voice acting booth to record all of those and use it only like 6 tins. Disable autosaving, save ghosts. Never saw any ghosts, so I don't know where that ever happened. The vibration isn't very good because it just kind of vibrates and it doesn't feel like it's actually giving you any force feedback. If I had an actual racing column, racing wheel, I would hope that it worked a little bit better and felt like you were actually driving on rocky road when you were driving on rocky road and vibrate a little bit, but I bet it wouldn't. And see, that would probably be a very expensive racing wheel if it had force feedback in it too. We kind of have to end kind of in the same way we ended before. There's major problems with this game. It feels lazily made. The menus are awful. There's way too many people working on the game. When you take away the fact that it looks good, it does look good, and I shouldn't just dismiss that, but put it to the side for a second, because it looks awesome. But when you take away the fact from that, the way there are 300 races laid out in a row that are incredibly repetitive, and the racetracks are incredibly repetitive, and the types of cars drive exactly the same, and the types of races are incredibly similar, it's just a boring, dull experience. It was boring and dull playing it on casual. It was impossible to play on anything else. This open area to kind of blow off some steam doesn't really work that well because it has all these challenges that are too difficult. Gymkhana gets mixed with racing, so people who are good at the Gymkhana will be punished when they're bad at racing. People that are good at racing will be punished when they're bad at Gymkhana. And so you'd have to become an expert at both. And when you get everything in first place, you still have several races that give platinum medals, which I guess maybe those unlock horns or something. And so there's even more work to do, even more time. This game doesn't really respect your time. It certainly doesn't give you enough cars. It certainly doesn't give you enough racetracks. It certainly doesn't give you enough locations. The multiplayer is pointless, we've seen. You can't play it unless you have friends that have it. And how would friends even get this game now? It's not available for purchase on Dirt 3. I literally purchased this game on sale, and then a couple months later, it was taken off. So you're not going to be able to do local network unless you have friends that already own the game. Dirt 4 has a lot of stuff it needs to fix. It needs to give us a good game. Now, admittedly, I will fully admit I probably just would prefer a arcade style Mario Kart style game over this. This game tries to be so realistic that it makes it boring. But even putting that to the side, I feel like what they give you and how they give you is they're just kind of drowning you in dullness when they could have done some major editing. Take the 300 races in Dirt Tour, cut that down to 150 or 100. Use a storytelling device like flashbacks or flash forwards, or that this is all in a simulation and you're driving some famous races that have already happened to see if you're that good. There's zero tutorial going on in this game except for Gymkhana tutorial. Otherwise, you have to already know what rally racing is. You have to already know what Rally X racing is, what Landrush racing is, and all the other styles of races in here, Trailblazers. You have to know all of that. You have to be an expert at rally racing because they don't explain what your co-pilot is telling you. There's huge opportunities for learning in this game that are completely ignored. There's no correlation with your team. You never see your team on screen. They just talk to you, which in favor of showing you these triangles and this fashion, which this menu is so bad because when you get down to it, you're no less than 3 clicks away from any race, and that's excluding using the controller to move up and down. And when you select a race, you're probably no less than 2 clicks away from actually starting that race, because once you select a race, then you also have to select the car and the setup, and are you playing on casual, are you playing on advanced or intermediate. So everything is just very, very separated. It gets in your way. There's way too much loading in this game that's hidden between different menus, which tells me that the menu system was made by one team and the races themselves were made by another, and they did not integrate those well at all. Now, I don't know really how to wrap up saying a racing game, though, because honestly, this still is probably a great game to give to little kids. There was a couple places where the guy said, like, ass twice, and that's a slight concern if you have like a 4 or 5 year old that repeats everything they hear. But otherwise, there's no major violence in here. You can crash cars, and if you put them on casual, they can probably beat most of the races for sure. So maybe if they've already done like a Disney racing game, one specifically directed to kids, and you wanted to show them something cooler and you wanted to take up a lot of their time, maybe this would work well for that. And this game would probably work decently well for people who are huge rally racing fans, but I suspect not as well as the creators think, because I bet there's missing a few options and a few little things that an expert fan of Rallycross racing or rally racing would miss. So I kind of just have to say this game looks really good, but it's average at best. It's got major problems. Maybe I'd rather go try Need for Speed. I'd rather go try Mario Kart. I'd rather do any other kind of racing that is more interesting, even if it's just racing inside of another game. Plenty of non-racing games have racing sections that would probably satisfy the need for racing for most players. So I don't give numbers. If I were to give numbers, I'm thinking I might give this one a 6 out of 10, but I don't do that because what are numbers really? Just made up measurements. Major problems, but the game looks good. It runs moderately well. We saw a couple crashes that might not have been its fault. We saw a couple visual glitches, which most definitely is its fault. But for a racing game, it almost is requirement that it needs to run perfectly in every race. And so if those couple of crashes are its fault. That's a little unacceptable, but at the very least we got 280 races without incident. Most of those races, though, let me reaffirm, I spent 80% of them in first place, far ahead of anybody else on casual. The difficulty settings are badly laid out and broken up. There's a casual, and then there's a sub difficulty under casual driving style of a difficulty of 1 to 10. And honestly, I would turn up the difficulty to 10 before I even went to intermediate style of driving, because then all the braking assist and cornering assist goes away and the game becomes very, very difficult to drive the cars, and I can't do it even on intermediate. It needs more levels of difficulty and more training so I can actually learn how to play. I never really learned how to play this game other than in casual you can just hold down the accelerating. I really didn't learn anything in this game, and it's taken up a lot of my time, so it feels kind of like a waste. Anywho, that's going to be it for this series. I hope you got something out of it. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe. Click the bell next to the subscribe button to get notifications. Comment down below and watch every second of my videos, because all of that helps me with YouTube. Down below in the description I have links to all my social media sites like Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Google+, Steam, and Battle.net. And I'd ask that you follow and friend me on all of those. That helps me with those services, and it gives you a backup of notifications when my next video is available. Thank you for watching this series. Have a good evening. Bye.